Hello. Hello. Can you hear me? Okay. Good morning and warm welcome after the tea break. So we are going to discuss on several things which has already been covered, like Dr. Khamar in the morning and Dr. Ashish has covered the thing in terms of how we can have increased manufacturing capacity looking for the last 2 years, whatever the pandemic situation we have faced. What are the smart technology which we can develop and quickly adopt it in terms of scaling up the process and for the easy operation. So today I have 4 panelists. Unfortunately, one of them will be joining from Singapore, Dr. Ravi Ganapathy. He has a vast experience of 25 plus years. And also there are 3 panelists who are going to be joining with you. Is Dr. Vinod. Welcome Dr. Vinod. He is presently working as a head of product development at Dr. Reddy's laboratory, and he has established a vaccine development facility for unmet medical needs. So we can welcome Vinod. The second one is Dr. Pratya Deshmukh. She is having a vast experience over 3 decades in setting up the strategy for overall quality operations. She is basically the quality, QA quality and the regulatory, so we should welcome her. She is working as a president and global head at Wockhardt. She is heading the API formulation and also the biologics at Wockhardt Limited. As we all know that Wockhardt has played a big role during the COVID manufacturing, and basically their UK plant was the main focal point for the UK COVID vaccine manufacturing. So welcome Dr. Deshmukh. And another panelist, Dr. Arjun Raghuwanshi. He is currently working with Gennova Biotech. As we all know that Gennova is the one company who has got the mRNA vaccine license, and he was one of the part of that development and manufacturing. So we welcome all 3 of you, plus one of the panelists, he will be joining from Singapore, Dr. Ravi Ganapathy. Dr. Ravi Ganapathy, you are most welcome. We are running a little bit delay. So he has more than 29 years of experience, and currently he is working at Hilleman Laboratories, Singapore. Unfortunately, he has not been able to join us, but he has a vast experience in bacterial vaccine and viral vaccine manufacturing. Dr. Ganapathy was, before joining in Singapore, he was working with IVI Korea, South Korea, and he has also worked with Biological E as well as at Shanta Biotech. So welcome to all the panelists. We will talk on their experience and inside their thought for smart technology for manufacturing, advanced approach in terms of the latest technology, and also the scale up of vaccine production. And the last one, which is not the last but the very important point, is the collaborating with industries in terms of scaling up further vaccine in case of any pandemic situation. Now, before going into the panel discussion, I will just brief what Dr. Khamar in the morning has also mentioned, that India is known for vaccine from last 50-60 years, and most of us knows that India has the highest number of vaccine manufacturing plant which is approved for from WHO. And India is supplying the maximum contribution of vaccine goes from India. Unfortunately, the Indians were known for conventional vaccine manufacturer and developing companies. What this during COVID vaccine and even the before, due to the lot of experience which is present in India, and also the support from different regulatory agency and the government of India, there are different technology has been tried and developed for COVID vaccine, and few of the companies who has scaled up the production and fulfill the requirement, and what Ranjan has said in the morning, 1 billion doses production and immunization in India itself proved that we have a lot of capability and the capacity in terms of making the vaccines. But till 10 years back or 5 years back, it was more of a conventional technology which we were using. In the last 5 years, there is a lot of new development which has come up of subunit vaccine, mRNA vaccine, and viral vaccine. These has been well proven during the COVID pandemic situation. There are few things which is associated with that. So we have Dr. Deshmukh, she is taking care about the QA and regulatory part. COVID was one of the case where we have got a lot of support from the government, and that is the reason it has come within a year or 1.5 years we have been able to come out with a vaccine. But normally vaccine takes more than 7 to 10 years in terms of bringing it into the market. So there are a lot of regulatory hurdle which is playing in the role. Until unless there is a pandemic situation, normally the regulatory agency will treat all the vaccine as a normal vaccine and go with licensure as per the normal schedule. So before going to on the regulatory part, since we have a couple of people who are good in terms of a smart technology development, so I will put this question first to Ravi Ganapathy. Ravi, can you hear us?
Yeah, can you hear me?
Yeah. So my question is to you is what are the advantage, disadvantage, and what are the difference in terms of developing the traditional vaccine or the conventional vaccine versus the new technology? I am not particularly talking about the pandemic situation, because in the pandemic there are a lot of waiver which we have got. But what are the things in terms of, you will see that if we can go for the smart technology development, how quickly we can come out, what are the advantages going to play a role?
Yeah, so thank you for introducing me. First of all, I'm sorry I can't join in person, but I'm happy to join the conference and share my thoughts on this panel. So coming to the question of Sudeep, as everyone knows here in the audience and also in the panel, India uses mostly traditional vaccine approaches, especially the old vaccines like oxide-based, whole cell-based vaccines, and recently recombinant-based vaccines. And then very recently we have mastered the complex manufacturing technologies for the most complex vaccines, which is very new popular, as well as the companies are marketed. But most of these technologies, because they are not completely automated, they are not very amenable to smart technology or complete automation. So when COVID created an urgent need for vaccines, it could be made quickly, safely, and cost effectively. Traditional processes, traditional approaches, they are not sufficient to meet the demand. So biopharmaceutical companies were looking to new technologies and novel molecular platform-based techniques, which by the time were right for lead to commercial scale manufacturing, like the mRNA-based vaccine technology which Pfizer and Mrna used, and also the viral vector-based technologies also AstraZeneca used. But these technologies would be more quickly adapted to manufacture COVID-19 vaccines, which were more robust, customizable, and flexible than traditional approach. And these would be amenable to complete automation and enabling smart manufacturing technologies application, so that the vaccine development would keep pace with the constantly evolving pathogens. What we mean by smart is there are smart characteristics in the process, which probably will enable the process to be adapted or automated in a way. Most of the current traditional approaches used, you can say, as industry callers, what they call as industry 3.0, where most of the processes are automated using information technologies based on human input rather than real-time data. But coming to the smart manufacturing developments, you may call it as industry 4.0. This is a concept where there is a digital transformation that improves the adoption of such innovative novel technologies and processes such as cloud computing, incubated under this environment. This also is considered as a suitable one to in future for immutable and global distribution of manufacturing vaccines. There are the examples for these smart concepts like this is chemical entity used in non-biologic manufacturing, which has a somewhat little bit tolerance for error, which is not possible in vaccine manufacturing. So still there is a lot of work to be done, but the concept approaches that generally used are like advanced quality control (AQC), advanced process control (AQC), advanced equipment control, using continuous verification of the process and feedback, process performance, development, stability, and compliance, quality assessment, and optimization maintenance.
Correct. So,
it's very complex thing. So many companies are currently working on that. Different ways these platforms and processes can be completely automated and then made as a smart manufacturing.
correct. So, Ravi. So thank you, Ravi. In continuation to what you have explained, since Vinod, who's taking care about the smart or the new technology development exercise at Dr. Reddy's. So Vinod, I have a question from you. What are the challenges you are expecting or facing for the new technology development, particularly when there is no similar vaccine is available in the market in terms of the comparison? So what are the challenges you are facing to bring it to the market? For time being, you can just leave a part about the COVID vaccine because there was a lot of thing which has been waived off. But in future, if you need to develop the new technology for some of the vaccine which may not be the pandemic, so in that case, how you are going to cope up with that?
Hello.
You can use the another one. Yeah.
Hello. 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 Yeah. Thank you, Sudeep. So my take is like it's being a R&D guy. I have been in R&D for all my life during my career, and it's always a easy task to start from a clean slate. Whenever we are working on novel vaccines, since we are the first one to work upon them, it is our choice. We can make a choice like what kind of platform we want to take up. So in that there are some considerations which we have to include. Most importantly, the business side of the vaccine. Science is of course like we can always go for the best possible technology, but then we also have to consider the cost of that vaccine, because if, for example, if we are working on a veterinary vaccine where the margins are less, the cost of the vaccine is very low, then going for a single use technology is, we can make a vaccine, we can make a very good vaccine, but selling them at that high price will be very prohibitive. So, so my take on this smart technology is like in R&D we always have to be very aware of what kind of vaccine we are working on and what is the market or the scope of that vaccine, and also we also have to look at the product development life cycle where we have to show some incremental improvements on the vaccine in the next 5 to 10 years, so that we can always have a better position of the vaccine in the market. So talking about the novel vaccines where like there's no vaccine available, as I said, there are like newer platforms available, single-use bioreactors are available of various like designs. So, and all of them have one or the other hallmark or like very good feature. So it is like, as I said, being in R&D, it gives us a upper hand to choose the best possible solution for the vaccine.
So I am continuing the same thing to Arjun, because he was involved in mRNA vaccine manufacturing as well as the development at Gennova, and this was a successful story at Gennova of first mRNA vaccine from India which has been launched by the Gennova for COVID vaccine. So he was the instrument behind the development as well as for manufacturing of the mRNA vaccine. So his insight will be very important in terms of using the smart technology, the advantage, and also there will be always, if there is an advantage, there will be certain disadvantage too. So what are the problem he has faced and what are the advantage? If I am correct, the mRNA give a quite a huge number of doses, maybe in a small volume. So this is what I know, but we should, Arjun should probably will focus more on that.
Thank you, Dr. Sudeep. Thank you, everyone, and thanks the conference organizers for giving me this opportunity to talk on this esteemed panel. I'm really honored that I am the part of this journey of mRNA vaccine at Gennova, and we are really proud to launch India's first thermostable mRNA vaccine. So we all know how the Pfizer Moderna story and how they vaccinated the world on the US and Europe side. And the power of this platform is that during the emergence of COVID-19, within a year, these two vaccines were rolled out. And this was it's not in days, since long this story was cooking, and mRNA is not a new modality. Since 1960s, it was there, and its immunomodulatory effects were known. In 90s, it was first time it was in vivo introduction of mRNA was done, but that time it was naked mRNA, so the delivery vehicles were not existing. But since then, this Drew Bisman and Karyakova, they did wonderful job, and they are great scientists, of course. They made these modifications in the mRNA, and certain modifications like nucleoside modification, and also other side research on the delivery vehicle made it possible to deliver this mRNA vaccine intracellularly, and they made it possible for its cellular uptake. So, and then this pandemic broke out, and how then we know BioNTech, Pfizer collaboration happened, and then the Moderna, since long they have working on this, and they got this opportunity and they developed mRNA vaccine within a less than a year's time. And now it's Pfizer is targeting around 100 billion of revenue in 2022, and out of that $50 billion is about to come from COVID mRNA vaccine and their therapeutic business. So it's a huge platform and offers great advantage. On the Gennova side, we got this opportunity. We in-house developed this technology. We have to start from the scratch because it has, of course, it is a cell-free platform, but we have to develop the process for plasmid manufacturing because this is a critical input for making this in vitro transcribed mRNA. So again, it goes to the fermenters. There we express the E. coli cells. Then we have to lyse with the alkaline cell lysis method. We have to set up the method for this plasmid purification process. We have developed, we are in the patenting process for that. So although the plasmid isolation is long existing for molecular biologists, it's a normal process, but for developing a commercial scale and pharmaceutical grade process for that, to launch a product, it was a challenging task. So we have to do that, and we did it very finite time. Of course, with the pandemic situation, we were a little late, and I'm proud to announce that recently we got approval from Dcgi for our mRNA vaccine, and a lot to talk about that. And it's really different platform than the this Moderna and Pfizer platform, because they are the non-replicating mRNA, and this is a self-amplifying mRNA vaccine platform. So it gives an advantage in terms of dose pairing also. So Moderna's mRNA vaccine is 100 microgram dose, Pfizer's is 30 microgram, and ours is 10 microgram. So this was an advantage, and in the next session I will further share more details about that. But on the delivery platform also we have done some fantastic job, and ours is not nanoparticle, it's a nanoemulsion, cationic nanoemulsion. So with that we are making this delivery, and really we are getting good results in our clinical trials. We have comparative clinical trials, so it was tested for safety and then for immunogenicity study. So it was a non-inferior trial. So we get really good results, and we have proven our safety and tolerability in our trials.
So thank you, Arjun, for giving all insight about the mRNA. Now, the next question is to Pradnya, because one part is developing a vaccine, maybe doing the clinical trial and all those things. But since she is coming from the regulatory and the quality perspective, whenever you develop a new technology, the first of all for new technology, for new molecule, and also the new technology, maybe for the existing vaccine, there is a lot of challenges which is coming both from the Indian NRA side as well as from the international point of view. So how do you feel, or what are the things, challenges you are facing with respect to the regulatory and quality perspective of the new technology of the existing product and also the new technology of the new product?
Okay. First of all, thank you very much to all of you, because this is a platform where all R&D, quality and regulatory all are here as an audience.
Right.
So, it is very rarely happen that three different jargons of the supplier of the service to the pharma industry on a common platform discussing something like vaccine. So thank you very much to BlueTech for arranging this forum. My first question to Ashish for that was, what is the percentage of audience? How many are quality, how many are R&D, and how many are regulatory? So that I can appropriately answer this question. What I have seen is, I will like to divide this answer into two parts. One is a regulatory and another is a quality. Now quality being responsible from development stage to the distribution till it goes to the actual end user. Everywhere there are totally 8 phases of vaccine manufacturing. First is a development, which is by R&D. It is followed by preclinical trial for on animals. Then take the permission for clinical trial, go for phase 1, phase 2, followed by phase 3 on a mass scale with your placebo studies. Submit the data of all this to ask for emergency for use, specifically in case of COVID or something like pandemic disease, or go in a routine way, which include the facility inspection to ensure whether the company is able to deliver the product consistently of correct quality. Then there will be a huge panel of doctors, regulators, microbiologists, statisticians who will decide, work on your application, grant you the application, you start the manufacturing, then quality control, and then after distribution in a correct way with the temperature control or conditions required for that vaccine or any other product, it goes for a phase 4 study. Most of our COVID vaccine is currently going on phase 4 study, where after the huge population using it, what is the side effects for 1 year, 2 year, and all these studies going on. This is the overall process which is handled by pharmaceutical company or the biological company.
No, Pradnya, that is fine. That is the overall process. If you have heard in the morning in the first panel, we were discussing a lot about if you develop any new technology at India. Normally, the international WHO or FDA, US FDA, they are quite reluctant in accepting it on a quicker time.
I'm coming to that. Now see, where we can manage the speed. My simple thing is, what we learn in COVID is to do it something fast. Make it as a part of a SOP for regulation. So automatically, all the vaccines, irrespective of whether it is required or not, can be handled in the same process. Why phase 1, phase 2 and phase 3 studies should be subsequent? Why cannot, with a risk assessment of that vaccine, cannot be done on phase 2 and phase 3 together as a process? Why we should have a special emergency for use type of activity for COVID or pandemic? Why we cannot have this as a normal, proper process to be established for the normal new vaccines, right? Because, and I strongly believe that whatever we have learned, if that is made as a part of a process forever, then really getting a new vaccine in the market will be comparatively much more time specific, time bound, rather than waiting for 8 to 10 years. Because if you really say the actual work done by R&D and actual work spent on giving the permission, I think it is 25% is done by R&D, and waiting for permission at different stages taking almost 75%. So if that is the case, that has to be SOP bound to make it faster for new vaccine. Plus, the another thing what I find, which is I am sure most of the people will be having feel in the heart but difficult to say in the forums to the regulators. The regulators should have a KPIs.
Right.
They should have a time-bound KPIs to say yes or no. No, why no? Yes, why yes? That's all. If they are having a KPI, the process of following up with the regulators will definitely reduce the time and support the speedy action of pharmaceutical approvals.
Right.
That's one of the things I feel that we should work for, having a KPI system for all the regulators.
Right. So the second thing is that, I mean, we have seen in the last 2 years during COVID period, there is a lot of collaboration, technology transfer from multinational company or within the companies in terms of taking quickly the vaccine into the market. So Ravi, there are few things which you maybe give some insight from your side because you are sitting at the Singapore. We have seen this collaboration works quite effectively and efficiently during the COVID period. However, in other vaccine or for other thing, we are not seeing it quite often. Normally that helps in terms of reducing the timeline in terms of launching the product and also enhancing the manufacturing facility or maybe the increasing the regulatory path to bring it a little bit shorten. So what do you think of more collaboration and working together from a different countries, whether the technology has been developed outside the country or even if has been developed in India, what are the way in terms of outsourcing or insourcing the technology for large scale manufacturing in case of any pandemic situation? Ravi, your take.
It's a very complex question. I think one of the recent conferences I gave a separate talk on only the technology processes and the challenges, especially between the different partners there in the different countries. See, as we generally see, to accelerate technology transfer and global vaccine production, currently there are calls for promotion of joint ventures between global manufacturers and local pharmaceutical companies and vaccine companies. So as to create a regional manufacturing hubs. As everyone has experienced during the COVID, the vaccine equity issues. Many countries in Latin America and Africa don't not having their own manufacturing capacities are greatly suffered. So there are calls for making regional manufacturing hubs with support from governments, which can probably happen in two different ways. One is governments give an additional subsidies for production or premiums for faster deliveries, as some of the Indian government has done for COVID, some of the companies. That enable producers to pay suppliers for the costs of speeding up their production. Second model will be the government to be a COVID war economy kind of thing or after mass production. And the compensation payments can be taken care of later. But the main problem is, as everyone knows, that vaccine manufacturing involves several components, more than a quarter of them in some cases. And making sure that the supply chain for that is ensured, even though the technology transfer happens from one place to another place, make sure that the local supply of all the components was a great problem. And even Serum Institute actually recently had a lot of issues with COVID on the vaccines because some components lost activities, probably even heard about it. So the key challenge is to develop vaccines which are affordable and which also produce at a very faster speed, especially in kind of COVID situation. But this involves, as I said, some of the new methods like technology hubs, like the WHO for especially RNA manufacturing, mRNA-based vaccine platform, they actually developed a South Africa-based mRNA vaccine technology hub. A lot of other companies, one of them is Dcgi, I selected to actually go there and get transfer
Vinod and Arjun, is anything from your side in terms of adding further to what Ravi Ganpathi has said in collaborating with companies in terms of quickly and scaling up the process for newer vaccine or new technology in India?
Yes, of course. For us, like mRNA manufacturing, first development and then transferring it to the manufacturing side, and we have to repurpose some of our existing biopharmaceutical facilities to the vaccine manufacturing facility. We did that, and 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 then sometimes the platform and technology give you those advantages, because mRNA is such a wonderful platform. If you once develop the process, it's a platform technology, because it's a disease agnostic platform. You change the disease, in this case you have to change just the construct, and your delivery platform remains the same. You need not to construct another manufacturing facility. The same facility will serve you for different diseases, and the same platform. And also the approval process will become much easier for that, and the timelines also. So the advantage of the technology is huge and promising. Like one has to harness and one has to dare to adapt the new technologies. As in the morning session, some of the panelists said that we are just manufacturing hub India, and we are not investing in innovations and R&D. But now a lot of startups are coming up, and Indian government is also investing a lot in the R&Ds, and they are promoting R&D incentives. For India, I see a great future, and a small company like Gennova, although we were in the biomanufacturing, biopharmaceutical and biosimilar business, we took this challenge, and this really gave us a niche apart, and because we are 2 years ahead, although our product approval is late for this pandemic, but definitely we can harness the potential of this platform for the further diseases like zoster, chikungunya, dengue, and for also for therapeutic vaccines. So this platform has a lot of advantages, and on the raw material supplies and inventory management, I would say for mRNA, because Pfizer and Moderna are the giant, and they have just booked all the supplies of the world. But we have did some backward integration. So I myself developed this plasmid process for plasmid manufacturing, commercial scale, then mRNA purification for that, in vitro transcription, and then for supply side, we have to do like capping, this mRNA capping. So for that, we require one reagent, critical reagent that is called a SAM. So we have to, we have a like Amcure as a parent company. So there we have contacted them, and they made it is us in-house. So we can do such backward integration, and we can see like what is in our backyard. We can do a lot of things in-house, because India has a lot of potential, and we have advantage of this skilled manpower. So definitely I see a bright future for the country.
So Vinod, anything from you to add?
No, I just want to sort of say that this is the right momentum that the Indian vaccine industry is having, because all the vaccine companies, it's not about money. The way all the companies came forward, even the non-vaccine companies also, and they contributed as a CDMO partners or CMO partners. So we should continue this momentum, and then we should address this pathogen X thing, like whichever is coming next, the monkeypox or some other unheard vaccines, viruses which are cropping up. So that's it.
So Pradnya, anything from your side in terms of collaborating with different companies or maybe the research institute?
Sure. From my experience of handling AstraZeneca vaccine at Wockhardt, UK, I will like to share 3 main points which actually is experience to improve upon the speed of manufacturing. One thing is, whenever Oxford has approached AstraZeneca and they agreed for manufacturing, the huge challenge was to where to make the massive manufacturing, huge number of doses and extra. Then we decided that let us have 2 CMOs. One will be actually manufacturing the vaccine bulk. So rather than waiting for a new capacity to be developed, whatever is the industry in which the maximum capacity is available, let us go for that work first. So we identify a bulk manufacturer of vaccine at one particular place, and bulk manufactured vaccine is transferred to our CP Pharma facility, where we are having a huge capacity of fill and finish. So we did fill and finish at another place. And parallelly, of course, the work of developing a new facility was going on, which we are now, with qualification, is going to take 1.5 years more. But with this type of mindset of collaborative approach between the two CMOs, managing the time and delivering the vaccine on time was useful. Second thing what we use, very correctly identified by our team members, is to use a single usage activity. So all your cleaning validation related or contamination related issues are being sorted out. And third and the most important thing we implement is, for QC front, we always find that sterility is taking 15 days. So we started developing rapid sterility testing, which used to give us an indication result, which is by and large 90 to 92% correct for releasing the batches on conditional release. And that was almost 5 to 6 hours sterility testing, and we used to transfer the material to main hubs for distribution, and followed by actual distribution after getting the sterility testing. So all this collaborative activity between R&D, other companies and quality help us to deliver the vaccine very much on time by Wockhardt.
Correct. So from the morning itself, we are discussing a lot that in the last 2 years during this COVID period, although touch wood it should not come again, but we have learned a lot. And what Vinod has said, that momentum has already been there in Indian manufacturing companies. And from the morning we are discussing that with the shortest period of time, this was the first time where we have been able to produce more than 1 billion doses in the shortest given time. And also if you see the vaccine approval, the vaccine was approved maybe 1.5 or maximum 2 years. So that was a great achievement, but what we need to do is further is not to lose this momentum, and we should be well prepared for any pandemic which is going to come. Not only the pandemic, even for the existing vaccines, since the technology platform has been well proven for mRNA, for proteins, and also for the viral vaccine. We should learn from this and try to get as quickly as possible for adopting the new vaccine or the new technology in the market. So with that, thanks to all the panelists. Since we are running short of the time, if there is a couple of questions to the panelists, it is most welcome. Yeah.
Just to Pratnya, see what you said that it is a parametric release were taken into action for this. But I had seen in India, especially our FDA does not accept parametric release. So this was a case for your UK or it was for India? Yes, I want to make it.
Case for UK.
Yeah.
This was a case for UK.
Yeah.
But that's the same thing I was talking, that whenever we are talking on a global platform to handle a pandemic, a flexible,
You can take.
Whether it is a India or whether it is UK or whether it is a USA, ultimately we are dealing with the life of and safety of the people across the world. So such type of emergencies, the process should be established irrespective of the country or nation based on the risk assessment, and allow us to do the same thing, right? That's why India was late in developing the vaccine, because there are so many benches
Right.
to be done. And in UK and US they were faster. President Janet Woodcock released the first Pfizer batch under the requirement on 11th of December 2020, where we were able to release COVID Shield, I think 2021. Just imagine, where every day thousands of people are dying and we are delaying the decision by few months, maybe 2 months, is massive loss to the country for people's self-life. So
See, during this COVID period, I mean, in the COVID vaccine development, there is a lot of thing has been waived off. And that is the reason even in the UK it has been approved quickly, although in India it is always much tougher in terms of getting it as approved.
And you know, there are certain things which I feel that we are delaying the process, or not we, as a human being, a tendency of taking as a setback and waiting for some other person to do it. But here that was a crisis and we learn a lot. Now that's why I was talking in my team that it has to be a SOP, or you can say a guideline by the government that has to be followed and given a timeline for every decision. So automatically this should be a way of life rather than following up or waiting for some government to intervene for speed up. This is only the learning from this COVID situation.
Yeah, that's why I said that government should also now take into consideration all these foreign approaches what they are doing,
Yes.
like a parametric release.
Correct.
So this should be also learned by our regulatories, that what is going on in the world. See, parametric release is not a new thing for US. They have a guideline also. So such thing our government, our regulatory should incorporate into their SOPs, as you well said, that in their SOPs, so that India also can take part into such world crisis time.
Yeah.
Thanks.
So maybe quickly we can take one question because we are running short. So after this, for the audience, if there is any further question, all the panelists will be available during lunchtime and maybe the whole day. So this will be the last question.
My question is for Dr. Pradnya. Thank you very much for the insights, and I would like to understand that with respect to the timelines, WHO mandates that for every developing country, the vaccine supply has to happen through release from NCL. So this is not a procedure which is usually followed for other biologics. But in vaccines, we have the presence of NCL and the release happens through them. So what are the complexities that this brings about in the Indian perspective with respect to the release of or cutting short the timelines? Because when we adopt these new technologies, new analytical tools, even the NCL needs to be upgraded. They need to adopt these methodologies. They need to train their staff again. So how can we cut this shorter? As I understand from our friend about the parametric release, my question is towards the importance of NCL here.
So I feel that we need to have a team of industrialists, pharmacists, biologics expertise, really working for FDA to renovate and to look upon their procedures and revise it completely for biologics. This has to be a separate cell, separate. Okay, our Drug and Cosmetic Act 1945 is amended, but nothing new has been happened. This is a time where industry as a team look together, having two separate Drug and Cosmetic Act, one for biologics and one for pharma products.
Right.
That is the basic requirement. You cannot continue amending your guidelines based on the need and experience. This has to be freshly done with a new generation who is much more knowing the current situation of raw material supply, packaging material supply, every crisis of our thing, plus automation. If that is being done, it may take 4 years or 5 years more, but then India will be much more on a stronger position on pharma backgrounds to deliver worldwide.
Right.
If we are continuing with the same guideline just by updating and patching up our experience and modifying into the guideline, I don't think that we will be able to sustain for longer years in this race of speed and productivity.
Just to understand more, does NCL behave as a roadblock in this journey? Or is there any need to understand the importance of NCL versus the regular industrial release or commercial release?
No, I personally feel that NCA should be looked upon differently. I personally feel that NCA should be looked upon differently by the industry, because it is a need of everybody, and in order to encourage the NCA molecule development and everything, a separate team has to work upon. You cannot continue with the way we are doing. Right. If I'll tell you again the example of Wockhardt only. We are manufacturing one WCK 522. It is under development since 22 years. Just imagine 22 years, a team of scientists. I am sure before 10 years, we were not in a position to start with, continue with the new drug development, etc. But somebody patient person has continued with the 22 years, and now it is giving such a great fruit to us that it is with clinical trial across 36 countries, our product is approved. Over a period of next 3 years, we will find that high broad spectrum antibiotic will come into the picture. But just imagine, we are struggling to get the regulatory approval. Simultaneously, now we have started to do it for 36 countries together. But it is a huge cost, huge time, huge talent required. Instead of that, if all these some key countries come under one umbrella and approve the drug, like ICH guideline, it will be very useful and speedy for the industry, That will help for every new drug, and it will encourage the company to go for a new development rather than going for approval in individual countries. That should be the way. That should be this is a time where all industrialists should come together and work for totally a different model for pharma and biologics. Not continuing with the normal way of, making some change, some enhancement. It's an orbital change requirement now.
So now I think the things are improving. I mean, I know very well the development time was less as compared to the regulatory approval and all the government's approval. But for the last 2-3 years, the things has improved, and hope the things will further improve, and we should get some type of a advances or advantage of that.
It's heartening to listen Dr. Pradnya. She is the first quality head who is advocating we should make it faster. Otherwise, all the process persons, like every day we are facing challenges from QA and QC people, right? So it's really, we should give a big applause for her.
So with that,
in one of my forum, my boss said me that quality is a speed breaker.
Yes.
Okay? And the quality is a speed breaker. I said, sir, very correct. What you are saying is 100% correct. It is the way you should look upon that speed breaker. Brake is for two things. First is to reduce the speed. And if the driver is smart enough, he will use that brake as and when required, but he drive at speed of 220 on the normal road even. So you have to run the business very fast and taking compliance and quality as a speed breaker as and when required, rather than quality driving the business and talking in terms of regulatory. So I strongly believe that business is backed up by quality, and quality cannot be a speed breaker for reducing the speed. It is to control the accidents. That's what I personally believe.
So thank
one more. What you said that it is speed breaker or the brakes, they are to give confidence to you that you are at a right speed.
Yes.
And you are going at a right direction.
True.
So don't accept this as obstacles.
Yeah.
And QA is never a speed breaker or never a stopping of your process. Always remember.
So I think we can close. The time is not permitting, and she is standing behind me. So thank you all, thank you audience for your time, and thanks to all the panelists, and particularly to Ravi Ganapathy, who has joined from Singapore. So thanks Ravi for your participation.